Tom Hutchison and Chair of the Adjustment Committee meeting. Item number 1, we're calling the meeting to order, and I have 1:02 on my phone here. This is the March the 14th, 2022 Committee of Adjustment meeting. We do have quorum as identified with the committee members' login. For this meeting, we're using both audio and video. For this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the West Grey website at www.westgrey.com. The technology for this meeting is being managed by the West Grey staff. Please refrain from clicking buttons throughout the meeting unless prompted. Before we continue, I'm asking our Corporate Communications Coordinator, Ms. Ferguson, to provide an overview of some of the other key points for this meeting. Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair Hutchison. Before I begin, if you get disconnected, you can dial in 1-647-558-0588 and enter the meeting ID for this meeting, which is 871-5038-0700. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being hosted on Zoom meeting software, but is also being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation and comments are not monitored on YouTube and must be done through the Zoom meeting software. Both members of staff and council have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software. Members of council and staff will be raising their hands physically on camera to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance throughout the duration of the meeting, please send a chat to myself, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, and I will attempt to assist you.
Thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda is the purpose of the meeting. Clerk Sherbeck, please provide your comments.
Thank you, Chair Hutchison. The purpose of this meeting is to allow the presentation of applications for minor variances and to allow interested members of the public the opportunity to ask questions or offer comments with regard to the applications. A public registry for each application is available by email to khewlett@westgrey.com. And if any member of the public would like to be notified in writing of the decision on any of the applications, they're to provide their name and mailing address on the corresponding registry. This will also entitle one to be advised of a possible Ontario Land Tribunal hearing in the event the decision on the application is appealed. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Sherbeck. Item number 3 is disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Members of the committee, are there any items of interest to declare at this time? And if not, if one should arise during any point of the meeting, we can declare at that time as well. Seeing none, we're going to move on to item number 4, which is the approval of the minutes. 4.1 is the February the 14th, 2022 Committee of Adjustment. And if I could get Clerk Sherbeck to read the recommendation, please.
Here, Chair Hutchison, the recommendation is that Committee of Adjustment approves the minutes of February 14th, 2022 as circulated.
Thank you, Clerk Sherbeck. Could I get a mover for this, please? I do see Member Robinson, and the seconder is Member Townsend. Is there any comments or questions from the committee members on the minutes? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor, if you just raise your hand. See, all members are in favor, none opposed. This motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, let's get caught up here. Okay, item number 5 on today's agenda is minor variance application number A02 2022-500202, Grey Road 12, Township of Glen Elk. 5.1, application number A02 2022, Jerry Lynn and Brett Levitt. 5.2 is Planner Spencer's report. And Planner Spencer, if you could read the recommendation for A02 2022, and if you could include the written comments received under 5.3, including 5.3.1 Grey County, 5.3.2 Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, 5.3.3 Grey Sauble Conservation Authority, and any other comments you may have received. Could I get a mover to receive Planner Spencer's report, please, to put it on the floor? And I do see Member Robinson moving that and seconded by Member Hutchison. Comments or questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor to get the item on the floor? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I apologize. I've got off. I've read ahead. I apologize. We will go to Planner Spencer. Planner Spencer, your report, please.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So the recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment receive report from Planner Spencer A02 2022, Levitt Jerry Lynn and Levitt Brett, wherein the recommendation is approval of the application A02 2022 as the application is considered to maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The general intent and purpose of the municipality's zoning bylaw is minor in nature and is considered a desirable use of the land, buildings, and structures. The subject lands are located at 500202 Gray Road 12 within the geographic township of Glenelg. The purpose of the application is to vary the provisions of section 6.1.4 to permit a total floor area of 129 square meters, whereas 92.9 square meters is permitted, the effect of which the application will permit the construction of an accessory structure. A single detached dwelling unit is also proposed for the subject lands, and permit applications for both have been provided at the same time. Staff have received comments from the County of Gray and the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. No comments with respect to the application have been provided, with disregard for the application to be approved. There were comments also provided from the Gray Salvo Conservation Authority relative to the application at hand. However, they did err in their comments with respect to the fact that it was a second dwelling unit on the property. That has been clarified with them directly and verbally. Beyond that, there's been no absolute provision of comments with respect to, with someone having an objection to the application. Thank you, and I'm happy to clarify further.
Thank you, Planner Spencer. And that'll take us to 5.4. That is verbal comments. There's two parts to this portion of the meeting. First one is for committee members to speak to it, and then we will go to the public. So under 5.4.1, committee members, this is your opportunity to ask any questions or provide any comments you may have. And I will be looking for any comments or questions, starting with Member Hutchinson. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, just a couple of points of clarification under the county comments. They speak to that there may be necessary to contact a local risk management official regarding the septic system. And then they also talk about an entrance permit that maybe looks like there's maybe a couple of entrances. So maybe deciding which is the best entrance. Just wondering if that'll be addressed through the building permit stage.
Planner Spencer.
Yes, thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So those are not planning related conversations that need to occur at this point in time. So the risk management component has been addressed and is part of the minutes, and that is within the package at hand on page, I believe, 24 of the agenda. And related to the entrance permit application, that is not related to Committee of Adjustment matter. They'll have to make a separate application as part of the building permit process for that to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Follow up, Member Hutchinson?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other committee members have questions or comments before I turn the application to the public? And your hand's still up there, virtual hand there, Member Hutchinson. Okay, seeing none, I am going to move on to 5.4.2. This is the public portion, and there's 2 points or 2 parts to this meeting. The first one is to speak in favor of the application, and that would be followed by anybody who would to speak opposed or as against the application. So I'm going to ask Ms. Ferguson to please provide members of the public how they can participate, and also ask if we received any additional comments or if you have any one that has virtually tried to get into the meeting. Ms. Ferguson.
Through you, Chair Hutchinson. For members of the public wishing to express a comment, you can do so in one of 2 ways. If you have joined us over the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and we can unmute you at the chair's request. Alternatively, you can press *9 again to lower your hand. If you have joined us using the online meeting software and are wishing to express a comment, please send a chat message to myself, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, and we can unmute you, or alternatively, you can send your comment and I can read it on your behalf. At this time, Chair, I am not seeing any members of the public wishing to speak in the chat, and we also have not received any additional comments.
I do see a virtual hand up by Jerry Lynn Levitt. Jerry Lynn Levitt, you probably unmute yourself. You can go ahead, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you just nod? I'm just on my cell phone. Okay, thank you. I'm the applicant and I'm just speaking in favor of the application, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Levitt. And your virtual hand is still okay. There it goes. Okay. See no further comments or questions. We're going to move on to 5.5, and that's decision by the committee. What direction would the committee like to take with this? And I do see Member Robinson's hand up. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much for acknowledging me. I just have a point of clarification, if I might. With regard to the first motion that I moved and Member Hutchinson seconded, that is the Committee of Adjustment receives the report. It's the recommendation contained on the first page of this agenda. Could you please confirm that the vote was called and the results of that vote? I'm wondering if that was not done yet. Seeking clarification, please.
And you are right. I had a little lapse here when I was writing stuff, and I do apologize. You're right. We did have that moved by your Member Robinson, and I believe Member Hutchinson had seconded that, and we did call the vote. I did see, we will call that again for clarification. So all in favor, if you could please raise your hand. And this is to receive the report.
Member Chair Hutchinson,
Yes.
could you please read the, I'm sorry, I'm getting a call back on your audio. Thank you for muting. Could you just have the motion read? Again, it's just been a little bit of time prior to calling the vote. I would appreciate it.
Okay, so yeah, I've got to mute myself because you do get a backbeat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Clerk Scharback. We're going to backtrack a little bit there. Clerk Scharback, if you could read that recommendation. And I do have it moved by Member Robinson, seconded by Member Hutchinson, and then I got a little ahead of myself. I forgot to call it. We did see the hands come up, and I apologize, but if we could get that reread, and we'll get back on track. Thank you.
Through you, Chair Hutchinson. I also have it moved by Member Robinson and seconded by Member Doug Hutchinson that Committee of Adjustment receives the report from Planner Spencer A02-2022 Levitt, Jerry Lynn, and Levitt Brett, wherein the planner recommends approval of application A02-2022 as the application is considered to maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan, the general intent and purpose of the municipality's zoning bylaw is minor in nature and considered a desirable use of the land and buildings. Chair Hutchinson, I did have it noted as carried. I thought the vote had been called with everybody's.
Yeah, it's fine, but this is the formality. We're just, for clarity, all
Yes.
hands were raised. I did not call that all members had voted in favor, none opposed, so it is carried, and that's just
Yes.
tidying up the loose ends and make sure that we're very transparent with what we're doing here. I think this is what Member Robinson was going for. And I do apologize to everyone, but we're back on track, so thank you, Clerk Scharback, and to the committee members, and to our viewing public. Now, we're going to move back into position here, get back on track to 5.5, and that's the decision by the committee. And I am looking for direction. I did see Member Robinson's hand up. If you wanted to proceed with that, Member Robinson, or I can go to someone else.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, I will move approval of the application A02.22 as the as per the planner's report for the conditions and reasons as set out in the planner's report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a seconder, please? Member Hergert?
Sorry, Chair Hutchinson, I think we missed that last statement. You may have been muted.
Oh, I apologize. I have a direction for the committee. Member Robinson has moved the recommendation. I have it seconded by Member Hergert. And I was just looking for you to please read the recommendation and then we'll call the vote on it.
Okay, thank you. That Committee of Adjustment does hereby approve minor variance application number A02-2022, Jerry Lynn Levitt and Brett Levitt, for the reasons as set out in the planner's report.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the committee members? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, if you could raise your hand, please. I see all 5 members are in favor. None opposed. That motion has carried. And that will take us to item 5.6, and that's the next steps. Again, back to Clerk Sherbeck, please.
You, Member Hutchinson. With the approval, there is an appeal period, after which time, if no appeals are received, the applicant will be advised that they can move on to the next step, the building permit process. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Sherbeck. Okay, I got my paperwork all in order here because I'm working off 2 different. I have the flow of the meeting and the agenda. Anyway, so we're back on track and we're on item number 6, and that's minor variance application number A03-2022, 313-611 Highway 6, Township of Glen Elk. 6.1 is application number A03-2022, Craig and Angela Pereira. 6.2 is Planner Spencer's report. And Planner Spencer, could you please write the recommendation for A03-2022, including written comments received under comment section 6.3, including 6.3.1 Grey County, 6.3.2 Saugeen Valley Conservation, and any other comments you may have received. Could I get a mover to put this on the floor, please? And I do see Member Hutchinson is moving it and seconded by Member Townsend. Now we're going to call the vote. All those in favor, just raise your hand. Okay, I see all members in favor. Now we will go to Planner Spencer's report. Planner Spencer? And that motion is carried, by the way.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment receive report from Planner Spencer A03-2022 for Pereira Angela and Pereira Craig, wherein the recommendation is approval of the application, as the application is considered to maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The general intent and purpose of the municipality's zoning bylaw is minor in nature and is considered a desirable use of the land and buildings. The lands have been identified municipally as 313-611 Highway 6 within the geographic township of Glen Elk. The lands are legally identified as Part Lot 24, Concession 1, Register Plan 16R6607 and 16R11034, Parts both 1 and 2. The purpose of this application is to vary the provisions of sections 6.1.3 and 6.1.42 to permit an accessory structure of 6.4 meters in height, whereas 5.0 meters is permitted, and to permit a total floor area of 234.11 square meters, whereas 92.9 square meters is permitted, the effect of which will permit the construction of an accessory structure. Comments have been received from the County of Grey, in addition to the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. There's no objection to the application on both components from those authorities having jurisdiction, and the recommendation stands from staff perspective that the application should be approved and proceed as regarded. I'm happy to clarify further. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Spencer. And again, another detailed report that you put out. That takes us to 6.4, verbal comments. And 6.4.1 is committee members' comments. And committee members, this is your opportunity to ask any questions or state any comments that you may have before we turn it to the public. So I'll be looking for any of the members looking to participate right now. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the members of the public, 6.4.2. And again, there's 2 parts to this portion of the public meeting. First one is to speak in favor. followed by anybody that would like to speak opposed or is against the application. And I'm going to ask Ms. Ferguson once again to ask or to provide an overview on how the public can participate. And if you could let us know if anybody is wanting to speak, or if you've received any messages. Go ahead, Ms. Ferguson.
Through you, Chair Hutchinson. For members of the public wishing to express a comment, you can do so in one of two ways. If you've joined us over the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and we can unmute you at the chair's request. Alternatively, you can press *9 again to lower your hand. If you have joined us using the online meeting software and are wishing to express a comment, please send a chat message to myself, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, and I can unmute you. Or alternatively, you can send your comment and I can read it on your behalf. Just checking here. At this time, Chair Hutchinson, I am not seeing any members of the public wishing to speak.
Okay, and I do not see any hands or correspondence on the screen that I'm looking at, so we will move along to 6.5, and that's decision by the committee. And I will be looking for direction from the committee on which way we want to go with this application. And I do see Member Herder. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I would like to make a motion that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application A03-2022 for the reasons set out in the planner's report.
Thank you. Could I get a seconder for that motion, please? Member Townsend, have you as the seconder. Clerk Sherback, could you please read the recommendation?
Through you, Chair Hutchinson, that Committee of Adjustment does hereby approve minor variance application number A03-2022, Craig Pereira and Angela Pereira, for the reasons as set out in the planner's report.
Thank you, Clerk Sherback. Comments or questions from the committee members on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the motion. All those in favor, you signify by raising your hand. See, all 5 members are in favor. There's none opposed. This motion has carried. And that will take us right into item 6.6. Clerk Sherback, what will be the next steps, please?
Here, Chair, the next steps are to wait for that 20-day appeal period to pass. If there are no appeals, the applicant will be advised that they can pursue their building permit.
Thank you, Clerk Sherback. Okay, item number 7 on today's agenda is minor variance application number A04-2022, 278-3581, Ontario Inc., and Ben Bray, agent. 7.2 is Planner Spencer's report, 7.1, application number A04-2022, 278-3581, Ontario Inc., and Ben Bray, agent. 7.2 is Planner Spencer's report. And Planner Spencer, if you could read the recommendation for A04-2022, including written comments that you may have received under 7.3, which would be 7.3.1 Grey County, 7.3.2 Saugeen Valley Conservation, and any other comments you may have received. And I will be looking for a mover to put this on the floor, please. To accept the recommendation from Planner Spencer, I do see Member Hergert. Can I get a seconder, please? Member Hutchinson, follow the vote. All those in favor of receiving the recommendation from Planner Spencer's report, all members are in favor. This motion is carried. Planner Spencer, please.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, the recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment receive the report from Planner Spencer for A04-2022, numbered company being 278-2581, Ontario Inc., the agent being Mr. Ben Bray, wherein the planner recommends approval of application A04-2022 as an
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
application.
Could you please turn off your mic? Thank you. Pardon me for the interruption.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, that application A04-2022, as the application is considered to maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan, the general intent and purpose of the municipality zoning bylaw, is considered to be minor in nature and a desirable use of the land and buildings. As previously stated, the lands are located at 1022 Victoria Street within the secondary settlement area of Ayton, the geographic township of Normanby. The purpose of the application is to vary the provisions of section 6.29D to permit the construction of an accessory apartment within a single detached dwelling unit, and the effect of which will also permit an accessory apartment 146.69 square meters in size, whereas a maximum size of 93 square meters is permitted. In addition to the variance, if approved, it will permit the placement of 3 bedrooms in the accessory apartment, whereas only 2 are permitted under the zoning bylaw. Comments have been received from the County of Bray and also the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, neither of which object to the application. No verbal or written comments were received from the public regarding the application at this time. I'm happy to clarify further if there's something else that needs to be clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Spencer. And that takes us to 7.4 verbal comments. 7.4.1, this is committee member comments. Is there anyone in the committee who has any questions or comments on this application? I do see Member Hutchinson. Go ahead, please. And I will mute myself.
Yeah, just so my understanding is this is going to be like a single residence with apartments upstairs and downstairs, sounds like. I'm just curious, it says in here that that this area does not allow duplexes or semi-detached dwellings in this zone. And I'm sort of curious why we would have that when really this is sort of doing the same purpose in some ways. It's not exactly the same, but I'm curious why we have that in there. And is it something we need in the future?
Planner Spencer.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, the zoning on this particular property does not permit anything beyond an accessory apartment, so to speak, in this particular zone. That is applicable pretty much for the majority of this particular secondary settlement area. So the principal dwelling that we're speaking to in this specific circumstance will look like a single detached dwelling unit, and the second unit is completely in the basement and will look essentially like a single detached dwelling unit, but there are 2 units on this property. However, there's other circumstances with zoning with respect to the ability to have an accessory apartment above and behind. This just didn't apply, hence the variance of this circumstance for this particular property. Thank you.
Okay. And one further question, if I may, Chair. I'm just curious about the location of the building because I believe when we looked at these properties in the past, when we had some severances and whatnot, that there was some talk about creating a street to the north of this property. I'm just wondering do we know the location of this this building? I presume it's going to be close to Victoria Street, but it doesn't really show it on the map.
Planner Spencer.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, it is fronting at 1022 Victoria Street.
Okay, right. So there's potential for creating another lot at the back. Okay, thank you.
Member Townsend, I see your hand. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the Planner Spencer. The fact that we're allowing 3 bedrooms is actually a move forward towards affordable housing and providing more because it allows larger families to go in there. Is this something we would consider for this type of zoning the next time that we look at our zoning bylaw?
Planner Spencer.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, that's a discussion absolutely that would come before council at that point in time. Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay, thank you, Member Townsend. And Member Hurd, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Member Townsend, for raising affordable housing as a discussion point. I did note in the county's comments on page 68 of the agenda that the county was very permissive of second units. And so to that point, when we look at our official plan and customizing that to West Grey, I think this is a point that we should make easier for people to be able to provide affordable housing by considering if 2 should be a limit or 3. We'll get to that discussion, but I look forward to making accessory apartments more more welcomed in our official plan. That's my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Hurd. I take that I don't receive any question there, so thank you for your comment. Any other comments or questions? from the committee members before I turn the application and move on to 7.4.1 to the public? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the application portion for the public. There's two parts to the public meeting. One is to speak in favor of the application, and that would be followed by anyone that would speak against it or is opposed to the application. Again, I'm going to ask Ms. Ferguson to please provide members of the public how they can participate, and if you would let us know if you've received any requests from the public to speak in favor or as opposed to the application. Ms. Ferguson, please.
Thank you, Chair Hutchinson. For members of the public wishing to express a comment, you can do so in one of two ways. If you have joined us over the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and we can unmute you at the chair's request. Alternatively, you can press *9 again to lower your hand. If you have joined us using the online meeting software and are wishing to express a comment, please send a chat message to myself, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, and I can unmute you. Or alternatively, you can send your comment and I can read it on your behalf. And at this time, Chair, I am not seeing any members of the public wishing to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson, and I too do not see any hands or any chats. So we will move on to 7.5 decision. What direction would the committee like to take with this application? I do see Member Robinson, followed by Member Herger. Member Robinson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will move that the Committee of Adjustment does hereby approve minor variance application number A04-2022, being 2783581 Ontario Inc. and Ben Bray agent for the reasons set out in Planner Spencer's report. Thank you.
Thank you. And Member Hergert, I did see that your hand was up. Are you going to be seconding that? Thank you very much. Okay, Clerk Scharbeck, could you please read the recommendation?
Through Chair Hutchinson, that Committee of Adjustment does hereby approve minor variance application number A04-2022 for 2783581 Ontario Inc. and Ben Bray agent for the reasons as set out in the planner's report.
Thank you, Clerk Scharbeck. Comments or questions from the committee members on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, if you please raise your hand. See, all 5 members are in favor. There is none opposed. This motion is carried. And I must add that, there we go, Clerk Scharbeck, I will add the comment after. What are the next steps under 7.6, Clerk Scharbeck?
To you, Chair, the next step for the applicant is to wait for that 20-day appeal period to pass. If no appeals are received, then they'll be advised that they can move on to their next step, their building permit process.
Thank you, Clerk Scharbeck. So what I was going to comment on is I think the detailed report certainly made our job a lot easier this afternoon at this committee level, and I think everyone was prepared when we came in. So thank you very much to the staff and to the committee members for being prepared for this. That takes us to item number 8, which is the next meeting. I do have the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, April the 4th, 2022 at 1 p.m. I believe that will be virtual as well at this time, but keep your eyes on the website for an update. Item number 9 is adjournment, and I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn, please. And I see Member Hergert moving that, seconded by Member Hutchinson. Okay, call the question. All those in favor to adjourn? I see all members are in favor, none opposed. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, and have yourself a wonderful afternoon.